Good evening, everyone. This is the Monday, September 16th meeting for the City of Revere City Council Subcommittee on Appointments. This evening we have one reappointment on our agenda. I'll ask the clerk to do a quick roll call of the committee.
Sure. Roll call of the Appointment Subcommittee. Councillor Keefe?
Here.
Here. Councillor McKenna?
Here.
Here. Councillor Morbido?
Here.
Here. Councillor Powers?
Here.
Here. And Chairwoman Janino?
Here.
Here. Quorum is present.
We're also joined by many of our other colleagues, Council President Guanasso, Councillor McKenna, Councillor Morbido, and Councillor Patch. So the one item on our agenda is the reappointment of Jeff Perlman to the Historical Commission, and Mr. Perlman is traveling. I did speak with him, and I let him know, since it's a reappointment and he's so very well known for his work that he does throughout the city, that I would speak in favor before you this evening. So I ask that we put this to the Committee of the Whole in favor. Does anyone on the committee have any questions, comments, or concerns?
Madam Chair.
Mr. President.
Madam Chairwoman, it's my understanding that in order to create an official position, there would need to be an ordinance of our general law, none of which exists for the position of official historian. The Historical Commission could unofficially designate Mr. Perlman by way of proclamation. That information was furnished to me by the city clerk.
Okay, so then I recommend that we appoint him to the Historical Commission and allow them to give him that designation. Any of my other colleagues? Councillor Powers.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I can't think of anyone more qualified, more knowledgeable, and more capable of serving in that position than Jeff Perlman. He has a wealth of knowledge, goes back many years in the city of Revere, and has always extended his own personal time to benefit the residents of this city. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you, Councillor Powers. Anybody else? On the appointment, all in favor? All opposed? So ordered. This will be voted out favorably to the City Council as a whole this evening unanimously. Thank you, and the regular meeting will start in about 5 minutes.
Good evening, and welcome to the Revere City Council meeting of September 16th, 2019. Will the members of the audience please rise and join the Revere City Council in a salute to our flag? One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call of the members. Counselor Janino.
Here.
Here. Counselor Keefe.
Here.
Here. Counselor McKenna.
Here.
Here. Counselor Morbido.
Here.
Here. Counselor Novoselsky. Here. Counselor Patch.
Here.
Here. Counselor Powers.
Here.
Here. Counselor Rizzo. Here. Counselor Rotundo is absent. Counselor Zambudo.
Here.
Here. And Council President Guinasso.
Here.
Here. Quorum is present. Calendar item number 2, approval of the journal of the regular meeting of August 19th, 2019.
All in favor, all opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 3, certificates of merit will be presented to Jay and Kerry Basford for their efforts in saving the life of a shooting victim on North Shore Road in Revere, Mass.
Kerry called this afternoon and said that she would be working this evening and is unable to attend this evening's meeting. We will vote to reschedule at some further time. Thank you. And prior to going into this evening's agenda, it saddens me to have to state that we lost 2 very, very valid individuals in our community. We lost a dear worker at City Hall named Pat DeMarco, and we also lost, at too early of an age, a young man named Bobby Picardi. Everybody is known to Bobby Picardi. Bobby Picardi is a very, very instrumental person in probably all of the campaigns that's ever existed in his young life. He's very, very instrumental in gathering people together, and the knowledge that he possessed in the political system was second to none. I shall never forget what he did for me and my team in 2017. It was just unbelievable, the organization he put forward and how he got my team to listen to him, and to a precision, we worked it out. And he's done that through so many of our campaigns. And beside that, as big a man as Bobby was, his heart was bigger. A very, very generous young man, never wanting anything. I always asked him, Bobby, what do you want? What do you need? Never asked me for anything. He just wanted to be in the political circuit, helping people to get elected. He took a great pride in that. And I will miss Bobby forever. My family will miss him terribly. And I've also have requests from council members who would like to say a few words. I will start with Councilor Jessica Janino, and I will save that after we rise to have a moment of silence for both men. Thank you. Councilor Janino.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you so much for the time this evening. I really appreciate it. Bobby Picardi was a dear friend of my family. I've known him my entire life, and I can remember visiting him and his family down at the cab stand when I was a little girl. And he was incredibly supportive throughout my career in politics. From the day that I decided I wanted to run, he was all hands on deck, and I can't thank him enough for his friendship and his support through the years. And on behalf of myself and the entire Janino family, we are so, so deeply saddened by this loss, and we want to send our deepest condolences, thoughts, and prayers to the Picardi family during this very difficult time, and also to the DeMarco family during this very difficult time. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Patch.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know Bobby since he was a little boy on Broadway when I was a police officer. His father, take him back to his father at the cab stand. that was long before he talked me in 12 years ago to run for council of Ward 6. He just, as the council just, the president just said, there was nobody better running a campaign than Bobby Bacardi. And I'm 6 elections later, or 12 years, 6 elections later, he got me a win. It was a shock yesterday when I got the phone call, and for my whole family. He's been part of our family for quite a long time, and he's going to be missed, and it's going to be tough for everybody to get over this. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Powers.
Thank you, Mr. President. What can you say about someone that truly cared about this city and truly was a benefit to almost everyone he met? Several elections ago, including 2 years ago, Bobby would call me every couple of weeks. Then I might not hear from him for a week later, but that was Bobby. And that was just a fantastic memory, a fantastic outreach to people. Just a great person. And I spoke to Bobby Saturday, I believe, and he had called me, and I said, Bobby, I'll call you back. And in 15 minutes, well, I didn't call Bobby back for probably an hour, but when I did, we both joked about it, and I said, I'm picking up your traits. And again, Bobby will be sorely missed by so many people in this city. I first met him through his dad, Richie, down on the cab stand, and what else can I say? Just a tremendous loss, not only to myself, but to so many others in the city. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Zambudo.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to say something about both gentlemen. I'm going to start with Pat DeMarco, who was a dear friend of mine and a brother knight. But more importantly, he was probably a person that knew more about construction than anybody I ever met. He was a teacher and a mentor, and he oversaw the plans for most of the building that's gone on in the last, 15 years in the city of Revere. Anytime, and I like to think I know a lot about construction, but I couldn't hold a candle to this gentleman. He was a fine gentleman. I never met anybody that had a bad word to say about him. I truly loved the man, and I'm going to miss him. Now, Bobby, a friend, and I got to say that there were many elections that we were not friends. We were on other sides of the campaign, and there were times when we were adversaries. More recently, we were friendly, very friendly, but I worked with him on campaigns and worked against him on other campaigns, but it was never really personal, and he will be surely missed in the political arena. I don't even want to count how many campaigns he helped win. He won a lot. He lost a few, but probably won a lot more than he lost. And I was shocked when I got the call because we had just seen him Thursday night or whatever, and it was, we were all having a good time, and it was a great night at Jessica's event. And I'm just truly saddened by his loss. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Rizzo.
Just very briefly, Mr. President, I'd just like to obviously offer my condolences to the DeMarco and the Picardi families. Pat DeMarco, one of the finest gentlemen that I've ever met and had the pleasure to work with for quite a few years, certainly during my term as mayor. Very knowledgeable and really a consummate professional, and somebody that I learned a lot from, just again, as I say, during my term in office as mayor. As far as Bobby Picardi, we didn't, for a lot of us here that know, we didn't see eye to eye politically on a lot of things, but there was probably nobody more beloved in this city. And, despite a lot of the challenges he had a big heart. He was good to people. Obviously, I extend my condolences to members on the council who he meant so much to, and obviously to the Picardi family as well. I know it's a big loss. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Keefe.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also extend those condolences. Mr. DeMarco, I didn't know very well. I was able to meet him very late in his life, but I know his family is carrying on the legacy, raising some of their children and family in the city of Revere, and there'll definitely be a loss in our city for the DeMarco family. And again, Mr. Picardi, or Bobby, who helped so many, again, like myself, newer to the political scene in the city of Revere. I got to know Bobby, and same thing. What can I do for you? Was what he would say. There was never anything asked in return. He just, I think he just liked good people, and I really appreciated knowing him. So my thoughts are with both families. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was fortunate enough to take Bobby Picardi's picture Thursday night at Jessica Giannino's time with the Giannino family and all her workers. And I probably would think that it was his last picture, but everybody in the picture, well, not everybody, but there's a lot of people in that picture that have their hands on his back and shoulders. It's just uncanny, but I was very fortunate to take the last picture of him. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Morabito.
Thank you. First, I send my prayers and my thoughts to the DeMarco and Picardi family. You know, when I first started public life, Bobby Picardi and I were on the opposite field of the political spectrum. Over the years, we grew a respect for one another, and he's been very beneficial to a lot of political candidates in Revere. He has made an impact. He, like my other colleagues have said, he was able to bring people together no matter what. Whether he disagreed with their political stance or not, he was able to get along with them. And that's what I've learned about Bobby. Over the years, though we weren't on the same political side, over the years we're able to understand each other and admire one another with respect. So my thoughts and prayers once again goes to the DeMarco and Picardi family.
Thank you, Councilor. And I'd like to add a footnote to Pat DeMarco. I didn't really interact with him, although he was in City Hall a lot, and he was in the building department and doing a tremendous service for our community. What I did interact with him is at the Holy Name Society at St. Anthony's. And he forever and a day wanted to get us to go to a retreat. And what we finally did last year, we had like a very mini retreat in the rectory of the church. So, you know, the congregation is diminishing, and there are not many of us left who unfortunately worship. But he did get this little gathering, and you know something? It was very, very spiritual and beneficial. I left there feeling much better than when I went in. And so I owe that to Pat DeMarco and his persistence to have a retreat. So, Pat, we all know where you are. You and Bobby are in heaven. And it's remiss, I'm remiss that we missed another fallen person in our community, Sammy McDonald. He's my classmate. And lo and behold, I forgot to mention Sammy, and so we all want to wish the prayers of all of us for Sammy and his family, because he was one heck of a young guy. He was a tennis coach at Revere High School, and he was just a great athlete in the Marines. He was a left-handed pitcher, which they wanted. He had quite a history, and he also was a good friend. So the city of Revere lost a good person in Sammy McDonald. And so we offer our prayers and our support to his family, and we wish him well, and future in heaven as a left-handed pitcher for the Angels. And we will have a moment of silence for Sammy McDonald. Thank you. Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, lots been said about Bobby Picardi tonight, and I don't have to repeat it because I just say ditto to all of it. But he always called me up, said, Ira, politics is coming up. It's election year. You got to do this, you got to do that, and he gave me a whole list of instructions to do for the whole campaign. It's one thing about Bobby. He said it like it is. He's a great guy, great attitude, fun guy to be with, and we will miss him. As far as Pat DeMarco is concerned, I work with Pat on a regular basis down at Site Plan Review. He was, as was said by Councilor Zambudo, that he knew construction more than some construction people that were in it for 100 years. And he knew what to check in all the drawings, making recommendations to make the job better. And he was a nice guy, always polite, and he will be missed. And we send our condolences to the two families. And as far as Sam is concerned, he's a great tennis coach at the high school.
Right.
And always had a nice word to say about everybody. You know, he was really a nice guy, and they'll all be missed. May they rest in peace.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Janino.
Thank you again, Mr. President. One quick thing I forgot to mention. There has been a GoFundMe page set up online for the family of Bobby Picardi to help with the expenses. It's called Friends of Bobby Picardi. So if you search that on GoFundMe, it's also on Facebook, even though I'm not. So I'm sure you can find it there, but any help's appreciated to help the family. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Madam Clerk.
Calendar item number 4 is the joint utility company meeting with Comcast, National Grid, and Verizon to discuss double poles and trench work.
Prior to Angela coming to the podium representing Comcast, we got communications from two sources, Stan from Verizon and Dan Cameron from National Grid. They will be unable to attend tonight's meeting, so we only have Angela here from Comcast. So, Angela, welcome.
Thank you. Hello, Council. Nice to see you all. Bet you can hear me now.
Could you state your name and address for the record, please, and state the company you represent?
My name is Angela Holm. I'm Government Affairs for Comcast.
Thank you. Councilor Keefe.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm not sure this will refer to you, but I would just like to state for the record, poll number 315 on Ridge Road, poll number 5 at 315 Ridge Road. It needs to, the light needs to be fixed. And also, there's a triple poll, so it won't be on the double poll list. There's a triple poll on Howard Street that we've been trying to get resolved. I just CC'd you today, or yesterday, on the communications, but it's poll number 2091. There's 3 of them, all with 2091 on them. And the homeowner is trying to repave their driveway, so this would be somewhat of an urgent matter to get those poles removed so that they can fix their driveway and have those taken out of the way. But if you can help convey that message, I'd appreciate it.
I'm happy to coordinate with my counterparts.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. President. Angela, would you be the one I would call if I had, I have a low-hanging wire. I think we wrote a letter to you, Bateman Ave, Bateman, I think it's Bateman Road, and it's on the corner of Bateman Road and Crest Ave in Beachmont. It's a low-hanging wire on the street going into someone's property. And if a truck goes by, it's going to take it out. So, and also we have a lot of lines that are wrapped around poles that are down. And I don't know who owns the lines, but if we called you, could you check it out and just see if it's your line? So would I call you to get that, to
Sure
give you
thing.
that information?
Yeah, you can call me or email me, and if it's not ours, usually one of our technicians can go out same day, at least check. If it's not ours, we'll coordinate with our counterparts again, and I usually pass that information along.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Zambudo.
Thank you, Mr. President. First I want to thank Angela for being here tonight, but I also want to say something about Stan and Dan. I've had occasion to call them for some different situations, some emergency, some not so emergency, but their response is overwhelming. They're always right there, so they may not be here tonight, but they certainly are there for the constituents, and I want to thank them publicly. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Powers.
Thank you, Mr. President. Am I understanding that you do coordinate efforts with Stan and Dan?
Yes, there's also a database that each
Yeah.
company has access to, so they know when they're next up.
Yeah,
in
I
line to move
I had a very stressful situation today after spending 45 minutes on the phone with Verizon with regard to 2 streetlights. One of the people I spoke with came back and told me that the street light at 69-71 Revere Street was owned by the city of Revere. Now, I can't possibly imagine. I know we do give Verizon probably $400,000 a year to keep the street lights lit, but I can't possibly imagine any of us going out and servicing street lights. So if you're speaking with them, there's a street light in front of 69-71 Revere Street. It's been out for 5 weeks. And there's a street light off of Library Street at pole number 0244. That's also been out now for a couple of weeks, and people have called on it, and we seem to be getting no action. So if you're speaking with either of those individuals, I would certainly appreciate a call on my cell phone. They have the number, so we can get these situations rectified ASAP. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Counselor. I noted that Stan from Verizon furnishes the City Council with a listing of people who are on the polls that need to be removed. And much to my chagrin, I noticed that Revere Fire has 40. They're the largest tenant on these poles that we need to have removed. I think that should be attended to. And I'm not offering this out to you, Angela. You're Comcast.
Right.
I'm offering out to the city clerk that we send a communication to the city of Revere, fire chief, saying there's 40 poles that need to be worked with. We also have 24 municipal poles. That means there are poles. So out of this group, there's 64 double poles that are needed to be corrected in-house. You only have 35 from National Grid, 10 from Comcast, and one from Verizon. I find this to be like unbelievable. So we need to get this, the city working on this so we get relief for our residents in our community. And it's kind of embarrassing that the onus of the problem is within our city. So I think we should get on that as soon as possible. I'm not faulting anybody. It's just that maybe through, we don't have enough money in the account or something like that. But whatever we need to do, the city council is ready here to assist the Revere Fire Department in finances if we have to. But we have to attend to these because we're the biggest delinquent. Thank you for attending, Angela. We really appreciate it. We have a resident who would like to speak. Come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, please.
Eric Lampadecchio, 43 Tapley Avenue. Angela, thank you for your help in the past. You were very helpful in getting some low-hanging wires on Agawam Street tied up. I'm looking for your help again. This time the property is on Beach Street. I believe it's 325 Beach Street. You can see here there's cable wires tied down to a chain link fence. I know that typically the lowest wires on the pole are cable and telecom, so just hoping to get that cleaned up if possible. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your attendance. We appreciate it. Certainly a help to the community.
Happy to be here. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Mr. President,
Councilor Zambudo.
I think it might be advised, I don't know if we need to put a motion in, but perhaps the fire department needs a subcontractor to help out with this, and,
I think the city clerk's told me something's in the works, so.
Oh,
We'll
great.
wait to get a,
great, thank you.
the chief is aware of it, and we need to get,
I'm sure he'll take care of it.
so by the next meeting in October, we should have some results because it's
Great.
in-house. We should just,
Right, yeah.
40 polls, get them
Yeah,
off.
it's probably a manpower issue. I mean,
Whatever it is, we need
So, I
to
mean,
help
if we need to hire someone, we hire someone.
We help them, that's
Yeah.
all. Thank you.
Thank
Clerk.
you.
Calendar item number 5 is the appointment subcommittee report.
Madam Chairwoman?
Thank you, Mr.
Jessica
President.
Giannino.
Thank you, Mr. President. There was only one item in subcommittee this evening, and it was the reappointment of Jeff Perlman. This was voted out unanimously in favor by the subcommittee. There was just one note that Council President Guanasso made note of, that it's not an official position, so he will be reappointed to the Historical Commission, but the title is an honorary or unofficial title at the moment until the City Council makes a special ordinance to create that historian position. So I recommend that we put this before the council for a vote in favor.
All in favor? All opposed?
Thank you.
So ordered.
Pursuant to Rule 23 of the City Council Rules of Order, the following communication is being reported out of committee with the recommendation to be placed on file. This is a communication relative to the Point of Pines Fire Station feasibility study.
Place on file.
Calendar item number 7, motion presented by Councilor Rotundo, that the mayor be requested to investigate the feasibility of providing residential tax reduction for public safety personnel who reside in the city.
Councilor Rotundo.
Council President, before I start, are we addressing all, or are we going to pick?
Council, it's my wish that because of, in due respect to, that we had a 3-week lull in our meetings. One was we had a holiday. The next was a preliminary day. So the chair's position is to allow all to go through.
It speaks for itself.
On the motion, all in favor, all opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 8, motion presented by Councilor Rotundo, that the mayor request the superintendent of schools to provide information to the city council as to whether or not pork products are served in school.
Prior to Councilor Rotundo speaking, the city clerk received a public records request on this matter. The individual who requested emails pertaining to this matter received them. Within the emails, the superintendent of public schools indicates that pork products, parentheses, pepperoni on pizza, is offered daily to high school students. I also have a communication here from Cheryl Cole, and she runs the food commissary. It is not common for us to offer pepperoni pizza at the elementary level due to the student acceptability factors and the challenge that can be faced relating to sodium targets in a K-5 menu. Because student preferences and sodium targets are different for middle and high school students, pepperoni pizza is a daily feature item. Hope this information helps. Please let me know if we can be of any assistance in the future. Councilor Rotundo.
This is actually for probably the same person. I had told this person that because my daughter said they serve.
So everybody's all set.
And as far as I'm concerned, we can withdraw this because it's not needed. She got her information. Thank you.
Very much. On the motion to withdraw, all in favor or opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 9, motion presented by Councilor Rotundo, that the mayor request the MBTA and MassDOT to look into the feasibility of providing a secure crosswalk at the Route 107 north and southbound between BJ's and Master Auto. Councilor Zambudo is recused from this motion.
Councilor Rotundo.
Speaks for itself.
On the motion, all in favor, all opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 10, motion presented by Councilor Rotundo, that the Revere City Council request our state delegation not to allow illegal aliens the ability to receive a license to drive.
Councilor Rotundo.
Personally, this is a big issue. It has many factors that I can go into, but I would hope that the council would vote affirmatively on this to tell our delegation that this is something that we do not want. It has both public safety as well as homeland security issues.
On the motion, all in favor? All opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 11, motion presented by Councilor McKenna, that the mayor be requested to send a letter of support to our state delegation for Senate Bill 452, an act relative to the proper disposal of miniatures. The passage of this act would provide for a 5-cent deposit on nips and drastically reduce the number of these small plastic or glass bottles being littered throughout our city streets and parks. Representative Vincent is a petitioner of this bill.
Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would just like the council to be on board with this and maybe send a letter together to push the legislation to look at this or pass this, because it's a big problem in every city. I know Chelsea just banned all nips in liquor stores because of litter and because of people public drinking. So I don't see that happen in Revere, but I would like to send a letter just to try to push this forth and say that Revere is on board with this bill. Thank you.
A point of information to the maker of the motion. Do you want the mayor or the city council to make this?
I would like both. I mean, the more the merrier,
Then this
I think.
request would have to be also to the mayor. It's not on there, so.
Is it a request?
That the mayor be requested, so the council will do it also.
Okay.
On the motion, all in favor, all opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 12, motion presented by Councilor McKenna, that the mayor request the DPW to paint the facade and clean the Beachmont Fire Station property. The fire station is in disrepair and the property is overgrown with weeds.
Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. President. They did trim the weeds, but I just want to say that this is the oldest and first fire station in Revere, and it's being, for 15 years, it's been neglected. The doors are peeling off, the facade is just in disarray, and that's all I want is a facelift for the outside. Inside is beautiful. You got to see inside. It's beautiful. But outside, it really needs a facelift. So I'd like to ask the city if they could just clean it up, trim, paint the front, and then just, scrape the doors and paint them over. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Giannino.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to support my colleague, Councilor McKenna, on this motion. Several years back, when it was still operational, my uncle worked out of that station. He used to put beautiful flowers out front, and that team really kept up with it. So I hope that we can restore it back to what it looked like, because it is sad when you drive by it and see it in such disrepair.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Rotundo.
Thank you. Apart from this motion, perhaps we can look at it differently and hopefully take this up as an opportunity to build veterans housing there, and keeping the facade and obviously looking at providing veterans housing. I'm wondering if the council would have an appetite, not in this particular motion, but just to say it now, if we'd all consider.
That's for another day. We can make a motion for that. On the motion, all in favor, all opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 13, motion presented by Councilors McKenna and Janino, that the City Council order to a public hearing the following proposed ordinance. An ordinance prohibiting single-use disposable plastic straws, stir sticks, and hot stoppers.
Councilor McKenna.
I would like to order this to a public hearing.
It's going to a public hearing on October 28th. Councilor Giannino.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think this is a great motion, and I want to support my colleague, Councilor McKenna, on it. And I think that a lot of times when you go into a store and you purchase something, you don't have a choice. You get a plastic straw, and by doing this, it forces the vendors to give our constituents an option that's a little more eco-friendly, especially being a coastal community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Zambudo.
With all due respect to my colleagues, we're not going to save the world up here. I'm taking a beating from the seniors over passing the plastic bag ban. People are losing their groceries in the rain because of the paper bags, and not only that, we're killing a lot of trees.
This is going to a public hearing, so we can hear all this kind of talk.
Okay, we'll discuss this. We'll further discuss my point
Thank
of
you,
view on
Counsel.
this.
You see me giving you the eyeball, you know? This is going to a public hearing, so if we hear it 3 and 4 times, we'll get the message.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Counsel. Counsel Rotundo.
Since it's going to a public hearing, could the makers of the motion provide some statistics and evidence as to why we would consider this? Thank you.
Thank you. On the motion to go to a public hearing, all in favor, all opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 14, motion presented by Councilor McKenna that the mayor request MassDOT to remove graffiti from the Winthrop Avenue Bridge. In addition, that the United States Postal Service be requested to remove the graffiti on mailboxes throughout the city. Councilor Zambudo is recused from this motion.
Counsel McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. President. So people are trying to clean up graffiti, but they're using the wrong color paint. And I just think it's the responsibility of the post office and the Mass DOT to go in if there is graffiti on the mailboxes in the Winthrop Ave Bridge. They go and use the right color and repaint it. Because if you see some of these mailboxes, people are just trying to take the graffiti off and they're not using the same color. So you got this light blue mailbox and this dark blue spray paint that's spraying over the graffiti. And the same thing with the bridge. The bridge is a light green color and they have this dark green color covering the graffiti. So if we want to make Revere aesthetically look better, we need to address these problems. Even though they're little problems, they are big problems to us. So thank you very much.
On the motion, all in favor, all opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 15, motion presented by Councilor Rotundo that the following non-binding question be placed on the general election ballot. Should the city of Revere stop all new residential construction of apartment buildings 8 units or greater for 1 year?
Prior to offering this out to the maker of the motion, the election department would need at least 35 days prior to election in order to print ballots. City solicitor would have to draft appropriate and suitable language for the non-binding question. So at this point in time, it's almost moot that this happened this year. If the maker of the motion would like this to go to the Legislative Affairs Subcommittee for review thereafter, it doesn't seem possible to get it out in this year's election. Councilor Rotundo.
This is a very straightforward question. The legal largesse of it is simple. All it is just, are you for or are you against? There is no legal technical language that needs to be written. Yeah, the solicitor would look at it, but this is actually language derived from several other communities that has had moratoriums. And it's a non-binding referendum, so therefore there's no legal issue regarding it. It's basically a poll.
That's the whole intent of it, is
and
non-binding.
important, and most important, from when I spoke to the elections office last, they haven't printed up any ballots yet because at this point they had no names. So I can't see how something so simple would be such a problem, why we'd have to wait till next year, but I leave that at the council. Thank you.
Councilor Zambudo.
Thank you, Mr. President. With all due respect to my colleague, non-binding resolutions are about as worthy as a bucket of warm spit. They mean nothing. They mean absolutely nothing. And if you want to make a change, you make a change with a binding resolution or something more substance. This is a zoning change. If you want to do it, go ahead and do it. Non-binding is just what it says, a joke, non-binding. So I do not support this, I will not support it, and that's where I stand.
Councilor
Thank you.
Rotundo.
That's fine. I perfectly understand that. I've asked for moratoriums in the past, they've been put into committee and not gone forward thereafter. This basically gives the pulse of the city. This is an election year. People are complaining about 2 major issues: traffic, apartments. The other thing is crime. So this is a very simple thing.
What's the wish of the council? The wish of the council is, do you want to see this go forward, or do you want it to go to legislative affairs? It's a non-binding, number one, the wishes of the people of Revere are not going to be satisfied, Councilor, based on the fact that it's non-binding. So it's rhetoric at best, and it's not a useful tool.
Well, you know,
It sends out a message But yet we can't do anything
I
about it if it's
remember,
non-binding.
I remember the last mayoral election, that a message was put out there regarding Shaw's, in which people at that point were telling everybody here that they did not want that building to be built, right?
Whatever the wish of the people.
Everybody was against it and then for it and changed their mind and flip-flopped and did this and did that. Well, this is letting the people say what they feel. And that way the person who gets in office, who sits at the mayor's seat, gets to hear what the people say. They're going to get to hear what the people say anyway because of the vote.
Point of information. I believe,
State your point, Counselor.
I was on the council at the time. I believe majority of the council members at that time were against the zoning for it because they wanted the development to come back with a commercial component and less units. And you know what? They came back, they gave us less units, and you know what else? They gave us a commercial component.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Zambudo.
I'd like to send this to Legislative Affairs.
Motion to send it to Legislative Affairs.
Excuse me.
Mr. President,
Counselor Powers.
Thank you, Mr. President. While the motion may be very well intended, I don't have any problem with that, but I want to make my position very clear. July 23rd, 2018, I put in a motion to rezone the boatyard at Mills Avenue, and it passed, and because of that, you can only allow single-family homes down there now. And secondly, when they came before the city council for the Bianchi's project, I voted against that also, 145 units. Thank you, Mr. President.
Counselor Keefe.
thank you, Mr. President. I'll be happy to take this up in Legislative Affairs in a timely fashion. I would agree, and this is no disrespect to the motion, it would be awfully confusing to have that question on the ballot, non-binding. But again, I'd be happy to take it up on and schedule it in the next Legislative Affairs meeting.
Legislative Affairs.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I believe you have someone up there that wishes to speak.
Go ahead.
Hi, good evening.
It's going to Legislative Affairs, by the way.
No, I understand that. I just want to say I think this is a great motion. I know Councilor Rotundo's up here taking a beating over it. I think it's a great opportunity for the residents to speak their mind and actually their vote and send a clear message to this city council as to where they stand in regards to development. Thank you for putting this in, Mr. Councilor Rotundo.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Calendar item number 16, motion presented by Councilor Rotundo that the City of Revere provide a 5% tax deferment on owner-occupied property of public safety personnel.
Councilor Rotundo.
I would like to withdraw this as it is a duplicate.
Motion to withdraw.
Thank
All in
you.
favor, all opposed? So ordered. Madam Clerk.
Calendar item number 17, motion presented by Councilor Rotundo that the mayor provide an accurate accounting of all students living in properties 100 units or larger in Revere.
Councilor Rotundo.
Recently, a constituent had asked me regarding this particular issue as there was something put out to the public that there were only 86 people that were coming from apartments, and this person was very concerned, coming from 250 Broadway, and she had a different opinion, so I'm asking this motion to go forward based upon her request.
Thank you, Councilor. On the Councilor Janino.
Very quickly, we might want to ask the superintendent, not the mayor, because she will probably have more input than he would, I would assume.
Councilor Rotundo.
Through you, Mr. President, the mayor is the president of the school committee, and I'm sure he can communicate that to the superintendent. So that being said, he was the one that put out that information. He should be the one to handle this information.
He's the chairman of the school committee. Okay.
Thank you.
All in favor, all opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 18, motion presented by Councilor Rotundo that the mayor provide the emails, names, and addresses of all 311 inquiries made to the City of Revere. Further note, each and every 311 user signs a privacy release prior to using 311. Additionally, under the state records law, this information is public.
Councilor Rotundo.
I have had a behemoth amount of comments from, I don't know how many constituents, that they put in 311 requests, that the requests get basically closed out and filed and nothing happens, that they send in emails and that they don't get a return. Now, I don't know how true this is, but the only way to find out is through this process. More importantly, it's public information. So let's find out what's going on.
On the motion, all in favor? Councilor Novoselsky.
Mr. President, not everybody that contacts 311 gives their name. They're not required to. You can call up and give a complaint, the address, and what the complaint is, but they do not have to give their name. If they send an email, yes, their name is provided. But as of now, they're not required to. And I would think that if this is gonna take place, it would be from this point on, not going back. So I would think twice, and you can't force anybody to sign a privacy release when they do this. So, I think this is, above and beyond the call of asking for information, and I don't agree with this.
Mr. President?
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Zambudo.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have to say that I've had nothing but positive response from 311. All the feedback I've gotten is that it's working terrifically from constituents. So I don't know what this is about. I haven't had one complaint that somebody didn't get something done through 311. In fact, the opposite. People are telling me how nice it is to use 311. So I don't know where it's coming from, but that's not the response I've gotten.
Councilor Rotundo.
Thank you. I'm looking for the email responses in particular, so when they go online, they fill it out, they sign a privacy section, and then they put forward what their request is. So, I'm talking about the email in particular. I'm sure this constituent right here is going to tell you something as well. And I can actually pull up the emails that I've gotten on my phone and give it to you. Now, just because they don't communicate that to the other councilors does not mean that they do not communicate that to me. So that said,
Thank you,
I feel
Councilor.
strongly on this. Thank you.
State your name and address for the record, please.
Eric Lampedecchio, 43 Tapley Avenue. I think Councilor Novoselsky makes a great point. If we're going to put this kind of information forward, we should redact residents' names, particularly for fear of retaliation. So, for example, if I reported criminal activity in my neighborhood, I certainly wouldn't want the criminals to have my name and the complaint attached to it. Something bad could possibly happen to me. The folks at 311 are fantastic. I'm what you would consider a power user. I'm in touch with these guys on a daily basis, and they've been fantastic to work with. But I think the sheer volume of tickets that they're receiving and the amount of tickets that they see on a daily basis are overwhelming to the department, and maybe they need some more resources to help get things done. For example, I have one ticket that's outstanding since May. Tapley Avenue was just repaved last year. National Grid came out, dug up the street. They didn't put the cement back properly. They just did a hot top and run. I'm looking to get that fixed. We just did the street over. The city just spent all this money, and now here we are, and it looks terrible. So I'm looking for your help with this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Keefe.
Thank you, Mr. President. I agree with, I think getting the data and being able to review it as a council would be good to see, because some of the information, sometimes I have tickets and I use them often, sometimes they get closed, and I might be a little dissatisfied. I'll even ask to have the ticket reopened or addressed a little differently. But overall, the feedback has been very good. But I agree, I think that there is a privacy issue. A lot of neighbors report things that they would not want their information attached to, and I understand that because there's a lot of good reporting that can come on there that police can use, housing and inspectional services can use. So I wouldn't want to have their information be public information. But I think we should schedule some time, maybe and I don't know if Councilor Rotundo would want to put this in the motion, to have the 301 bring us their updates so we can look at the data, look at the response time, look at the effectiveness. Again, I'm sure it's going to be very good. But, it'd be nice to review and see where there are maybe some areas that maybe there's a department that needs to have more manpower added to it so that they can address certain concerns.
Do you want to address this in legislative affairs?
Sure, that'd be
We'll
fantastic.
send it
Thank
to your
you.
legislative affairs.
Thank you.
On the motion, all in favor? Opposed? So ordered. To legislative affairs.
Calendar item number 19, motion presented by Councilor Rotundo that the mayor release the following information. What recommendations were made from the city to DCR regarding the Ocean Avenue Revere Street intersection? Further, that the working papers surrounding these recommendations include dates and studies to be provided separate of the recommendation.
Councilor Rotundo.
Thank you. Actually, someone had asked for this information and was denied this information via public records request. As they stated, the mayor stated that it was, or the solicitor stated that it was underneath the deliberative process. Now, I cannot see why the city would not want the people of Revere to know what recommendations were made to the DCR regarding Ocean Avenue and the Revere Street intersection? Number one. Number two, under the deliberative process, it doesn't have to do with public safety. More importantly, it doesn't have to do with litigation. So why would the city deny this constituent, Eric Limpadecchia, this information? What are we hiding here? What's the mayor's office hiding, and why? Let's call it for what it is. If you're going to be transparent, this should be transparent. People should know. They're going to be putting up a building there where the old Cove is. There is more construction going on down on Ocean Avenue. The people should know what's going on down there. They should understand what recommendations were made, how it's going to affect them, and more importantly, why is this being hidden? What is the problem here? Thank you.
Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I attended the meeting on the traffic study that was conducted by a private organization regarding not just Ocean Ave and Revere Street, but the general area of Revere. And that was one of two studies that were put together, one by a private developer on Ocean Ave and one by the one that the city hired. Now, these were not, at that time, finalized recommendations. They were only suggestions to DCR. DCR has to make the final decision because it's their property. It has nothing to do with the city of Revere. These guys are trying to correct a bad situation. We all know it's bad down there. You know, that's part of my ward, it's part of Council Powers' ward, and part of your ward, Mr. President. And, you know, I don't think that anything's trying to be hidden. All the councilors were invited to that meeting, and I was one of maybe two councilors that attended. So nothing's hidden. It was there for everybody to be seen.
I was there.
Thank you, Councilor.
Mr. President, if I may.
And I say,
I was one of the
if I may,
members of
Mr.
the council who were
Councilor.
there. Councilor Novoselsky has the floor.
And if I may, you know, nothing's being hidden here. There were great suggestions. They showed all the potential problems, how many cars came into the city from outside the city. They studied license plates from where people live to come into the city through Ocean Ave, through Revere Beach Boulevard. They did all these studies. They studied North Shore Road. They know how many people came from out of town to our city. We are a gateway city, ladies and gentlemen. We have people coming in. There's no way for us to stop these people from coming. We can make recommendations and suggestions of utilizing various MBTA properties. Hopefully someday we'll get a T-stop down behind Wonderland to help this out. But nothing is being hidden here, and it's just a political show-off that someone wants to get something done. So that's my
Thank you,
play.
Councilor. Councilor Powers.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ira's 100% correct. As a matter of fact, we had a meeting in the mayor's office, and then we had another meeting in the State House that was sponsored by the Speaker DeLeo. And what was discussed were different scenarios, how to solve it. One of the things that was discussed was a rotary back around where the old ebb tide used to be at the end of Revere Street and Ocean Avenue to facilitate traffic getting on and off of the boulevard that much easier. Another thing was suggested was widening, not widening, but allowing another lane of parking on Revere Street from Billy T's down to North Shore Road and from North Shore Road down to to Ocean Avenue. So there are things being done, and there are a lot of suggestions thrown out there. And we're waiting right now to get a report back from the organization that's doing the study. So that's where we are right now. So there's no, and I want to mention something else while we're on that subject. As you know, they're going to be doing the groundbreaking for the new hotel, the Marriott, down on Ocean Avenue. In fact, they're doing site work down there now. And I was informed that one of the staging areas, so as to reduce traffic on Ocean Avenue, will be at the Wonderland site. Well, I don't agree with this. because they're in court right now. We had a pretrial conference in June. We're coming to trial in January with regard to the building inspector's position on parking at Wonderland. But it is certainly going to help the residents of this city. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Rizzo.
Mr. President, obviously this is in my motion, and it's not my ward, though I'm an at-large councilor, so theoretically every part of the city is my ward. I don't know where all this kind of hostility is coming from and defensiveness. Unless I'm misreading it, I think Council Rotundo is just looking for information. Not everyone can make every meeting that's held. And I didn't see anything in the motion that said no meetings were held and that nobody was invited. If you can't make a meeting, there should be a paper trail just to say what's going on. I mean, I've learned more about this just listening to the scenario right now than I knew before. So if it's in the works, I think that is just what Councilor Rotundo, and I don't even think it's him, I think it's a resident that had asked him for it, that's looking for it, that just wants that information. So if there is an update that can be given to the constituent and to Councilor Rotundo, I think that we should just make that available. I don't think this is a big, huge request. When I saw the motion, I thought it was going to be one of these speaks for itself type of things. Instead, it turned into, as I say, a lot of defensive posturing and hostility, and I just don't know why. If we can just get that information, I think Councilor Rotundo will be happy. I think the constituent will be happy. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor. State your name and address for the record, please.
Eric Lampedecchio, 43 Tapley Avenue. I am that constituent, that resident that asked for this information. I was not trying to turn a mountain into a molehill, and by no means is this anything political. This is something that I'm really excited about. This is a problem that's been a problem for a long time, the Revere Street bottleneck. And to hear that the city's working on that, I just wanted more information. I just wanted to know what's going on, what's the plan? And just like many other residents in the city, I want to know what's going on. To hear that you guys have been working on this for months, that's fantastic, and it really excites me. But when I asked for the additional information, I was declined, and I didn't understand. I saw this in the Journal. I saw this on the city's website. We're touting that we're putting forth solutions. I just want to know what that solution is. So I reached out to the at-large councilors, and thank you, Councilor Rotundo, for taking this forward. The city was kind enough to reach out to me as well. I spoke with Bob O'Brien today, and he clarified with me some of the recommendations that were made, and that they're still working on it. They're working with DCR, and things are kind of still in discussion, so that's why he wasn't comfortable going fully public with it. But with that said, this is a good thing, and it should not be made a negative hostility thing. This is so exciting for me and for the people of Ward 5. Thank you.
Thank you. State your name and address for the record, please.
Rocco Falzoni, 55 Toscano Ave. Council President, through you to Council Rotundo. Let me tell you a few stories about DCR. DCR has its own agenda, as far as I'm concerned. During my subcommittee last year, working with Ira Novoselsky, DCR was invited to come down to my condo on Ashley and Toscano Ave to discuss a few things. He never showed up. So when he never showed up, I'm saying, listening to what's going on, there's no argument going back and forth. But DCR shows up when there's a photo shoot on Revere Beach, when they dug the ground to put in that new bathroom there, he was there. So that's how DCR works. As far as I'm concerned, name recognition goes a long way. So you weren't recognized by DCR. That's my opinion. That's all I have to say. Thank you, Council President.
On the motion.
Point of personal privilege.
State your point, Councilor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Quite frankly, all I'm looking for is the working papers. More importantly, these things should be communicated to the council on a regular basis, especially of a project of this nature. I didn't know anything about this, and I couldn't attend these meetings because they happen in the daytime when I work. Many people here work. So with that said, the purpose of having that information sent to us allows those that cannot participate in those meetings, which thankfully you do, that piece of information, so I can pass on to a constituent. And again, the issue is always remaining that this is in the works. This is what's taking place thus far. It's not a finished product.
Let me add, I was at the meeting, but I was one individual who left there very agitated. I didn't feel like I was getting anywhere with anybody. This should have been done months ago. Revere Street, the right-hand side of Revere Street from Billy T's on, they should be marked off. That lane should be open so they can queue going right, going left. So I was so frustrated when I left there. I was disgusted because I'm saying months later, I still don't see this thing happening. So I didn't leave, I was in attendance, but I wasn't happy. And I let those who were in the same vehicle that we were going home in, let them know my feelings. And I let them know there. I said, we got to do something quick. We can't wait forever on this. Now, this was prior to summer months coming. Now the summer months have gone, passed, and now we're going into the winter month. Most people are back to work. Had they queued that lane and had it open, it would have made traffic flow so much easier. And we are a regional traffic area. And a lot of people don't agree with that, but we are. And so don't let the nature of the beast be. That's what we work with. But I was frustrated too. But when I say I was there, I didn't have anything good to say when I left there.
That said, Mr. President, I had asked this 3 years ago. I had even asked this under the Ambrosino administration, where the Marriott and that whole project, the Wonderland Transit-Oriented project, emanated from. I mean, that whole thing on Ocean Avenue is from the Ambrosino administration. And I had asked then that they put these documents online. People should know the RFQ, the RFP, all the studies that took place, all the renditions that took place, all the changes. They should be on the website so people can go there and look and know exactly you know what's going on. The same thing with those studies from those private developers. Those are public records. Anything that gets discussed in a public hearing is a public record at that point by public records law. So that should be on the city website. And I don't mean to give the clerk more work. I mean, but at the end of the day, a lot of this unnecessary request wouldn't be taking place.
This is necessary, Council, based on the fact that I go every day by Ocean Avenue, and that's such an injustice to our whole city, the inconvenience that we have to live with. And it's almost like we're infringing upon them. Even though workers are becoming arrogant to the fact that they walk across the street and there's a trail of people waiting to go to work, it's a work zone. Why don't we just close it off and say, we'll wait 5 years until you're all done?
I'm just happy they're finally putting the hotel in.
You don't want me to say what I really want to say.
We were promised a hotel up at Overlook Ridge. We didn't get one, and we finally got one over here at Wonderland where they were supposed to do that first.
On the motion, all in favor, all opposed, so ordered. This looks like this late motion is almost the same thing as night.
It looked like it was a duplicate, Councilor Rotundo,
So withdraw that?
Withdraw that one.
Withdraw number 20. All in favor, all opposed, so ordered.
And calendar item number 21, motion presented by Councilor Rotundo that the mayor provide the city council with the number of police summons over the last 3 years. Additionally, that the mayor provide the total number of arrests, calls, and cleared calls for the last 3 years by the RPD.
Councilor Rotundo. On the motion.
Speaks for itself.
On the motion, all in favor, all opposed, so ordered. There being no further business, the Revere City Council will stand adjourned until the meeting of September 23rd, 2019. Thank you for your attendance.